welcome to Just Killing Time. I am the curator of this content. If you are downloading this podcast for the first time, I would like to say that you are witnessing what is probably the 35th rendition of what this podcast is. If you're listening to it, you're listening to the 35th rendition of what this podcast is. It's going through several changes over the years. At first, it was just audio, sitting in front of a microphone talking. Then it spawned into interviewing people, talking to people. It went through me trying to like motivate people to go out and do what they wanted to do. And I think I motivate people to go out to do what they want to do because I don't want to be alone going out here doing what I want to do. Like, I want to be with other people that are like saying, fuck the proscribed life that I'm supposed to live, or that my parents had planned for me, or society had planned for me, or my school teacher had planned for me, or my child's mother had planned for me. Whatever life was thrust upon you, and you're just like, I don't like it, and you want to go do something different. I applaud that. I support that. I encourage that. I back that. If there's money out there to be tossed at a cause that encourages people to just live their life, I'm for that. Going through several changes. I was uplifting people. I was trying to motivate people. There was a lot of anger at the very beginning of the podcast. I had a hard time dealing with being overlooked for things that I thought I was qualified for. And I just riffed on that shit on the podcast. I riffed about the things that I didn't understand from a very angry point of view. From the South, born and raised in the South. This is my perception of the South. You want good food, like not processed, some stuff out of the garden, chickens raised, fed. You want good food, you go to the South. You want to have land to move around for your animals, for your kids, for your multiple cars that you don't need, for the multiple animals that you just have because you got bored and you saw Michael Jackson had a llama, so you was like, I'm gonna one up him and go get a buffalo or a yak or something like that. Like, whatever you have your land for, right? You want to have a nice house, spacious house, very cookie cutter, Walton's, Seventh Heaven, growing pains type of house. Front door, walk into the business, kitchen, kids sitting around, living room, upstairs, downstairs, garage. You want that life. You want people that go to church every Sunday, that life. You want people that go to the malls on Saturday, that life. You want people to go out to eat on Friday nights because it's a family event, that life. After school programs, football, baseball games, soccer, basketball, all that. Local high school, support your college. Fear God, believe your politicians. A man sleeps with a woman sleeps with a man. There's nothing else in between that. That's just what it is. You understand that if you are black, that the proscribed life is you can't have a life better than a white person. If you're Hispanic, Latin, Mexican, whatever label you prefer, pick one. You hid where you could because the South is racist. You worked, but you also had to like hide. It's like roaches in a sense of, they get to work during the daytime, but then at night when the lights go off, you gotta like scatter. You gotta go away because they don't want to see you. And I'm making that analogy in the reference to Latin, Mexican people in this country working during the day in the kitchens, cleaning the hotels, the hospitals, whatever, doing all that shit. And then at the end of the day, they got to go home because society, the patriarch don't want to see you out in the daytime, like outside of doing work for them, because they look at you as nothing but labor, right? And I come up with that analogy because in Richmond, Virginia, where I used to play the Richmond Funny Bone, but they don't book me anymore because I don't sell tickets. They have a park where you can walk a trail that takes you to the city, but the trail is where the boats came into America with slaves on it, and then they would unload the boats, and you would march the slaves to like this jailhouse or whatever they kept the slaves in until they auctioned them off. I walked this trail, and as you're walking the trail, you can feel the evil, you can feel the pain, you can feel the suffering. It's a very condensed Ta-Nehisi Coates explanation of slavery. There's no red dirt, there's no big words that you got to go and look for 5 different dictionaries to explain it. It's plain and simple. I walked the trails where slaves were carried from a boat to a basement where they were auctioned off or killed or got sick and died, right? Because there's no way in the world. And the reason, and here's the crazy part, the reason why I made the analogy of, the nighttime, because they wouldn't unload the ships during the daytime. They wouldn't unload the ships in the daytime because they didn't want to offend the white people who would have to look at these slaves that were covered in shit and piss and dirt and debris, tears, pain and suffering. They didn't want people to see that. They're going to take them, hose them down, give them a good firm brushing, and then make them stand on a platform, and then white people bidded on the one that they thought they could get the most out of, that would be the most obedient, that didn't look like he could read, that she didn't look like she would run away. They bid on us. Then they took you away, separate you from your kids, your family. The first social service, right? I walked those trails. And that's why I came up with the analogy of that's how they treat Mexican people in the South. They probably do it everywhere, but in the South, I see it. I've seen it. So a lot of my dialogue, my understanding of life was the hatred that I had seen forced upon me personally, the hatred I had seen forced upon other black people, other minorities, Asian, Latin. I perpetuated the narrative of the things that were thought about us and others to make it seem like not even, what's crazy is a lot of shit that I perpetuated, it wasn't because I was like, I want these white people, I want, the patriarch or the people in charge to see that I'm a good boy, that, I believe in what you taught us. I believe it was just my upbringing and the things that I experienced, and that's all I fucking knew. And you don't know it's wrong until you go someplace else and they say, oh, no. We don't wipe back to front. You don't wipe from here and then come here. You don't bring it up. It's here and then drop off, right? It's this, not who the fuck wipes like that. If you are with somebody and they wipe like this, get the fuck away from them, dude. If somebody wipes back to front, that person is carrying their own personal batch of E. coli. There's no fucking way you can think that's okay to start from back here and then work your way to the oh my lord. So I only knew what I had learned and experienced, and I spoke from that perspective. And a lot of it was ignorant because I come from the South, where it was okay to say the word fag, or it was okay to call somebody fat or something like that, because these motherfuckers don't know better, dude. But they love God, and they love their country, and they love their guns, and they love their cousins. And then, I wanted to evolve the podcast and move it forward. And then video came, and I'm like, I don't want to fucking record myself talking. I don't want to video record myself. Now everybody's doing it. Motherfuckers is touring off of this shit. Videos, fucking audio, live podcasting. I did Mark Maron's live podcast a couple of years ago. Not a couple of years ago, like probably like 9 years ago I did Mark Maron's, because I did it right before I got my half hour on Comedy Central. So it's like 2011, 2012. I don't even know what I was doing at the time that warranted me being a part of anything that Mark Maron was doing at the time, because Mark Maron was like the top 5 podcasters at that time, and to get on that platform you really had to fucking be doing something or moving heaven and earth to get on there. So I don't even remember how I got on there, and I honestly didn't capitalize on it as much as I should have, because I was looking for the bigger picture. Everything was like a bigger picture for me. A lot of my journey has been not paying attention to what's going on around me, because I really want the home run. I don't want a single or a double. I don't want to get hit and get a free base. Everything I did, I was trying to get a home run, but everything I did was trying to get a home run, because the home run meant I was going to get a bag of money, and I was going to solve all my problems with this bag of money. I was going to solve the taxes that I owe, the child support that I owe, the fucking loans from college that I owe. I was always trying to hit a home run so I could get these fucking problems off my back that would not allow me to eat or sleep or enjoy life or vacation. Problems that made me say, you know what? I'm okay with welcoming death into my fucking life, because I'm not valued, I'm not respected, I'm not loved, I'm not allowed to experience joy or travel, because I don't make enough money. And because I don't make enough money, I'm not of value to people that make my worth transactional. Talked about it several times on the podcast about worth in the sense of you gotta have a certain amount to have access to the things that will make you happy, or the things that will bring you joy, or the things that will give you experience, things that will give you an opportunity to exist and grow, evolve. You get cut off. America, I don't know about any other country, because I haven't been to any other country other than Canada, and you don't know what the fuck's going on in Canada, because everybody's smiling, drinking coffee, and eating maple syrup and egg, right? So when I went to Canada, I didn't really think about social shit, life, money, how they live. I was just like, what the fuck? I'm in a country where people have made fun of these people for being soft and not tough like America. Like, we bully Canada because Canada won't fight us or anybody, or they rather have peace. But then I find out that Canada is just as fucked up as any place else. They got their own type of racism. They got their own type of bigotry. They got their own type of corruption. But they do it with a smile and some coffee and maple syrup. And then they remind you that they gave you Michael J. Fox and Eugene Levy. So you can't be too mad at us, right? Or Levy, Eugene Levy. Let me get it right before somebody try to correct me. So I went to Canada, but in this country, you will go to jail for being broke. You will go to jail for being poor. You will go to jail if you are incapable of, if no one can get anything out of you, you get penalized. That's a fact. If you're a dad and you owe back child support, or you don't make enough money to get a house or an apartment with a second bedroom in it so your kids can come visit you, so your kids aren't allowed to visit you because you live in a studio apartment, you will not be allowed to see your children. You will not be allowed to experience your children if you do not have fucking money. If you're a man, you cannot enjoy the company of a woman if you do not have money. And what I mean by that, I'm talking resources. Can you feed this woman? Can you provide this woman with safety? Can you give this woman an experience that nobody else has given her? And if you do a good job, you are rewarded with company and then other things. You have to have money. You have to have worth. You have to have some value. You have to Someone has to be able to explain why they offer themselves to you. That's America. That's the world that I know. I'm only saying America, and my dialogue will be limited and very much. I'm gonna be very conscious about what I say. So I'm only speaking for America. I will not ever, until I step outside of this country, speak about another country, because I can't trust the images and the media that I see to be factual and true. I don't know if there's a war in Ukraine. They tell me it is. I've never been to Ukraine. I don't even know what the fuck Ukraine is. I know there's money leaving this country going to another country to fund a war. We can't join the war, but we can fund the war. And the reason there's a war and everybody won't come to Ukraine's aid because Ukraine didn't join NATO, and because they didn't pay their protection insurance, meaning had you been a part of NATO, we would step in and say, don't fuck with them. But because you're not a part of NATO and you're kind of like, you're sick, but you don't have insurance, but you can go to urgent care, but you don't have insurance. And we can't give you insurance now because you're sick, because we don't cover pre-existing conditions. Tell me where I'm wrong. So I can't say, in China they're weird, or in Russia they're this, or in Australia. I talk to people from these places, but I have not personally been there. I have not eaten their food, drank their water, congregated with their people to understand their rituals, their conversations, why they deem certain things funny and why we don't, or whatever the fuck the thing may be. I just can only speak from what I have experienced, where I have been. No, I think this is what they do in Idaho. I don't know. I've never been to fucking Idaho. I heard potatoes come from there. I don't even know if that's true or not. I got potatoes. I've grown potatoes, so potatoes don't have to just come from Idaho. If that's what they're known for, congratulations, I guess. I don't know, man. I heard potatoes are bad also. So I've gone through some changes with the podcast. There's certain days where I feel like I want to do it, and there's certain days I don't feel like I want to do it. And I think the thing that makes me struggle with doing the podcast consistently is because when I first started doing it, I did it because I was inspired by somebody I admired, and that was Bill Burr. And then Bill Burr did his on Gcast, it was on MySpace and Facebook. And then he evolved to equipment and shit and put it out there. And I wanted to do what Bill Burr was doing because I think Bill Burr is fucking funny. I don't know. I can't help you if you don't find Bill Burr funny. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you about why I think it's stupid that you don't understand why this man who is fucking white as the people that oppress us, and he is fucking from Boston, and he is a sports fan, and he has a wife, and he has some beautiful kids, and he's fucking went from a guy living in Boston to working his way up in this country. And I know people are going to say, but he's white, he would have won anyway. But he's also Irish. So there's like this thing that white people are like, different denominations of white, they deem unfit for society. So I guess Irish people are looked down on everywhere else except probably Ireland. And that's how it should be. But you got Bill Burr, blue collar guy, not jumping around on stage, not fucking feeding into the machine of I have to be like this guy or I have to be like this guy. He's a ranter that tells great stories, and he worked his way up. He's on fucking Better Call Saul. He's on Mandalorian. Like, what's not to like about Bill Burr? And he's fair with his stand-up. He fucks with everybody. And what's more funnier is he fucks with white people more than anything. And I think that's fucking hilarious. I think it's hilarious. So now I'm at this point where I got to do this podcast. I want to do the podcast, but the podcast has to mean something. Like, am I interviewing people? Am I going on a journey? And then am I selling something? Am I having guests on? Like, what the fuck am I doing? Right? So now I'm like trying to figure out what I want this to be. And then you think about the fact that people will tell you that if you're doing something and you're not making money from it, then you're wasting your time. You're not allowed to have hobbies anymore. You're not allowed to have fucking passion projects. You're not allowed to have anything anymore. Everything you do has to be monetized, and that takes the fun out of almost every fucking thing, unless you are a money hungry bitch. And when I say bitch, I'm talking about men and women and everything else in the fucking between. So it's like, man, can I make money doing this? Is there a way to make money doing this? Am I being hacky and trying to go out here and find, missing person cases and sit here and speculate for a fucking hour and have you sitting on the edge of your seat like, ooh, you never thought about this, but Karen could have been driving backwards instead of forwards, and that explains why she ended up in the... Like, am I really about to do that with y'all? That's just time wasted. And that's the other thing. My biggest thing is I started this podcast to discuss my anxiety with dying. It's kind of cloaked. My whole thing about life is I worry about dying. And I think the fucked up thing about it is, and this goes for everybody. When I say it goes for everybody, it goes for my mom, my dad, sister, my kids, friends, acquaintances, what manager, age. I don't give a fuck, dude. The moment I found out I was going to die, I've been fighting to give a fuck about life. There we go. We just got to the meat of some shit. Listen, this just came to me. The moment I found out I was going to die, I've been fighting to give a fuck about why I should care about anything since. And the only thing that makes me want to live is love. Like, I want to find love and be in love and swim in it and drink it, because love will distract me from death. Loving somebody will distract me from death until I lose that person. And the only way I can enjoy this life is if I find somebody that won't die before me, because I will fucking curse this life if I were to ever to find somebody I felt like I could give my entire being to, and if they die before me and I gotta eat that, I'm Thanos, fam. I'm Thanos. I'm going to get some stones. I'm going to go out. I'm going to rip some heads off. I'm going to kill Loki. I'm going to kill Thor too while he's standing there. Why the fuck would I waste time? I'm getting everybody. Oh my God. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. I have to understand why any of this shit makes sense. I got to understand, why does reality TV make sense? I got to find out why does stress exist. I got to find out why this music is relevant. I got to find out. I spend my time trying to figure out why anything matters when you know it's all going to end one fucking day. How? That's my whole thing. I'm trying to figure out why we give a fuck about anything when you know it's all going to end. And you had to trick yourself with social constructs. You had to trick yourself with religion. You had to trick yourself with politics. You had to trick yourself with having idols and things you worship, deities. You got to create these things to keep you from fucking thinking about that it doesn't matter what you do, this shit gonna end. And if it's gonna end, why not just do what the fuck ever you want to do and let it be that? That's the whole thing. That's the biggest part. That's the whole thing. Fix it right here. That's the whole thing. 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 That is the whole thing. That is the whole thing. That is the thing, people. I am trying to find something to give a fuck about enough to make me care about giving a fuck about life. And it has been that way since I was 6 years old, because that's when I found out about death. Death is important to me. And we just keep swimming. We don't try to solve it. We don't try to prolong it. If you exist, air goes in and out your lungs, your only interest should be, how can I live forever? In good health, in good spirits, physically, mentally. How can I live forever? If you're not trying to live forever, do not talk to me. If you are not trying to exist forever, do not talk to me. I don't want to hear about the philosophies of your spirit goes into something else later, a starfish, a unicorn, a monkey's asshole. I don't give a fuck about all that. Because all that is speculation, because you don't have any fucking proof. You don't. All I know is that Atticus. Atticus is the poet. Atticus says, I hate loving anything that death can touch. And when I tell you that shit sits in my stomach, it fucking sits in my stomach every time I read that. Because that explains everything about me. I try not to love anything because I don't want to feel the pain of what it will feel like when the thing that I love no longer exists. And then you're forced to love things by default. Society will make you love something. Society will tell you that you are crazy, you need to be put away if you tell somebody you don't love your children. What's wrong with saying that? You may not fucking love these motherfuckers. There's a strong possibility that you can look at a fucking child that you made and be like, it ain't doing it for me. I don't know why, but I don't feel connected to you. Why is that what's wrong with that? That's a human thing. I don't want to love things that fucking are going to die. That's why I'm mad I got a fucking dog, because I know this motherfucker is going to die one day. My time with this bitch has an expiration date. I don't know when, but it's going to go, and I don't fucking want to deal with that. Because it's death. I got to deal with death. I got to deal with loss. I got to deal with what the fuck. So from here on out on this podcast, I'm going to try to find the funny. I'm going to tell these stories. We're going to go on this journey. And I'm just going to be a public diary of what I am fucking trying to understand. I'm trying to understand all of this shit. And I'm trying to understand why I even give a fuck when I spend all my time trying to figure out why this shit means anything. I have to convince myself to give a fuck about things that society says you should be giving a fuck about this, because I don't have the bandwidth to give a fuck. This is a journey, people. Podcast is going to be me. I'm ranting about what I don't understand and things that make me uncomfortable, and try to figure out a way to make that shit funny, or find the humor in it, find the punchline in it. I have books that I'm writing. I have some artwork that I want to put up. I have some sketches I want to put out. I got some videos, some shorts that I want to shoot. Got this comic book I've created. I'm just creating. Like, all I'm doing is just creating shit, because there's nothing really for me to do. It doesn't matter what I do with this time, it's going to end. And it doesn't matter what I did while I was here after I'm gone. It just matters now. Like, all that matters is right now. Right now I'm fucking miserable, but right now matters. And if you're unhappy or uncomfortable, I promise you, man, get the fuck out of whatever that shit is you're in, walk away from whatever fucking relationship that you are in where you don't feel loved or valued. Fuck your religion, dude. If you got a religion that says you got to stay in some shit because you ain't happy, that's a fucking shitty religion. And I mean that, bitches. I'm not going to backpedal off of that. If you belong to a religion that says you got to stay in something regardless of how bad you feel or how unloved you feel or abused you are, that's a shitty religion. And you need to take whatever literature you have and rip it out of the book. And either you going to shove it down your own throat or up the person's ass that you don't want to be with. But either way, somebody going to take it. And it shouldn't be you. It's hard to digest paper. I've tried. It comes out immediately. Comes out. So look, man, I've only known a few people that I actually believe were free. I believe Patrice O'Neal was free, but Patrice wasn't as free as Paul Mooney. Patrice was free, but Patrice also realized I'm a big black dude. I'm 300 pounds. I'm 6'5". They are waiting on me to break character so they can shoot me down like the gorilla they think I am. You're not going to talk my head off. I've seen people walk by Patrice and look at him as if at any moment he's going to grab them and break them in half. Like, it's just whack shit, right? But Patrice was free because he spoke. He's articulate about how he felt. He was able to explain and argue his point and his point of view, which is a rarity. There's not a lot of good comics in this world. Look at me. Listen to me. Hear me. Read this on the screen if the words are up. There are not a lot of good comics in this world. And I mean, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of great comics in the world. There's comedians. There's people. There's not a lot of great people, but there's people in the fucking world. Just like there's comedians in the world. There's not a lot of great ones. Patrice was fucking great. Phenomenal at his craft. If his goal was to come into this world and be a successful and a fucking respected and a incredible comic, he succeeded. He should be happy wherever he is, knowing that the thing that he wanted to do on this plane, in this dimension, he accomplished, because the motherfucker was incredible. Patrice is the best comedian, top 5, dead or alive. Whatever your top comedian is, I will trump that with Patrice O'Neal on any day. That motherfucker, y'all are ass, dude. Y'all don't understand. You don't fucking understand. Patrice was a whole nother level. And the other person that I knew that was free was Paul Mooney. God damn, Paul Mooney would say stuff sometimes in front of me, and I'd be like, yo, you know you black, right? Why the fuck are you talking? Paul, you gonna get us killed talking like this. Paul Mooney would say the freest shit you would ever see a black person say to white people, as if he don't remember that we used to be fucking slaves. Like you'll say something, you'll be like, whew, that's even a lot for me as a black person hitting this white person with this comment, because they used to own us. I know they can't no more, but shit, I could probably say the wrong thing that could spark the flame that make them say, all right, put them back in the cages. Try to be conscious of that. The fact that I even think like that is fucked up, but that's the South. The South has me where I think, like, if I say something too free, that a white person will fucking put me in a cage or gun me down or make me sick or take my girl, my wife, or whatever the fuck like they used to do. I don't know. I'm not being racist. I'm just spitting the facts. This is just facts. I'm not making up anything. So this is the podcast. This is the format. Talk to me. Engage. Send me some emails at jktpodcast@gmail.com. That's where you can email me if you want to talk. I know I'm moving a lot. I'm also on this fucking box, right? You can't see it if you're listening, but I'm sitting on the Apple box, and I keep moving a lot. And the reason I keep moving because my thigh is uncomfortable. My right thigh, I pull the muscle in it, the hamstring, and I keep pulling the same fucking hamstring, because when I run with my dog, Cornell West Vance, when I try to run with him, he don't know that I'm trying to run. Like, come on, let's run. He's like, ooh, I'm about to jump on top of you. And it's like, I'm trying not to run over this motherfucker, because he's like, oh, I want to play and jump. Like, run, bitch, go this way. This motherfucker's stupid. And every time I try to avoid stepping on him, I always end up pulling my fucking muscles. So right now, I'm sitting on the apple box and I keep moving, fidgeting. Someone's gonna think I'm on fucking heroin. No, coke or something, because as much as I'm moving, but I'm not. I'm just fucking uncomfortable because it's like a sciatic nerve I'm just sitting on top of this bitch and it's just poking the fuck out of me. So yeah, peep game. This is what I'm doing. It took me a long time to get to this point where I'm like, this is the journey I'm on. This is the conversation I'm gonna have. Most likely, some of this shit that I say is either gonna become a joke. I'm gonna write it in my book, journal, essay, turn it into a sketch, a video. That's what the fuck you're supposed to do. I am taking this pig, which is my art, and getting the most out of it. How they do with pigs? They use everything on a fucking pig. I would never eat a pig ever a fucking again. I'm telling you right now, the shit they fucking do with pigs, they use every part of the pig. When they are done with a pig, the only thing left is this motherfucker's whiskers, if they have any. They grind up all of that shit. The eyes, the tongue, the teeth, the hoof, the ass, the sphincter, the spacter. Fuck. This is how I choose to kill my time. And if you did it with me, I hope you don't feel like you wasted it. Later.